Hi everyone, it's Alison Ingleby here, science fiction and fantasy young adult author, and this is number 6, I think, in my video series, which follows my progress as I'm writing my latest book. So as you can probably tell by my attire, it's got pretty chilly here in the UK, so I've got my big cuddly deeply unstylish winter jumper on to keep me warm in my office while I'm writing today. So in terms of progress, I'm just over halfway through the first draft of The Shadow City. I was hoping I'd be a little bit further along by now, but my schedule got pushed back a bit in December. So I've kind of been trying to play catch up since then. But I've had some boring admin things to do this week, like my tax return, which are very important and necessary, but take me away from the fun stuff in life, like writing. So I've been busy with that. I also feel like I had quite a good week last week, and I feel like I've slowed down a bit. And I think this is partly because I'm just after the midpoint in the story. And usually when I get to this point, I then need to I've kind of run out of what I plotted essentially from the beginning in terms of the detailed plotting. So I need to take some time out to stop, have a think about what's going to happen, and actually put those beats in, the chapter beats and the scene beats, to take me through to the climax and the end point. So yeah, I guess my phrase which comes to mind with this is no plot survives first contact with your characters. So, and I think even authors or writers who are quite heavy plotters often will get to a point in their story where they will need to revise some things. So really what I've been doing in the past couple of days is thinking about replotting and revising my current story to make sure to take it through to the end point effectively. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going back and editing much. I'm adding a couple of things in as and when they come up, but I'm not really doing editing at that stage. It's more thinking about where I've got to and where the story's going and where I want to take it. And I admit, like, I'm struggling a little bit at the moment. My inner critic has been coming out and telling me that it's all a load of rubbish and it's going to be terrible. And that's it's pretty tough to deal with, but, you know, everyone has that, and you just have to kind of knuckle down, just keep writing, get through it, and then hopefully when I look back on it after I've done the first draft, it won't be as bad as I think, and I can edit it into some kind of decent shape. I'm also a little bit concerned about the length at this point. So my target for this manuscript was 60,000 words, and that was quite a hard limit because it's part of the Cursed Lands box set. So that's the kind of upper limit for the stories in the collection. Now I'm kind of on track, I think, at the moment for about 72,000 words, which obviously is quite a bit over 60,000 words, but I'm just taking the attitude that I'll see how it plays out over the second half of the story, and then I'll figure out what to do with it when I get to the end. So yeah, it might end up being slightly longer than that. I tend to write long books, so bearing in mind my other series, the Wall series, each of those books is over 100,000 words, and the last book I wrote, Defenders, was 115,000 words. So that's like pretty much twice as long as what I'm aiming for here. And I guess that's taught me a bit of a lesson about trying to plot a shorter book, particularly a book that's first in series and when you've got lots of characters and things to introduce. So that's something I'm definitely going to have to think about when I'm editing, and to see if I can maybe rationalize that a little bit. It's always, I find the first books in series quite hard because you have to set everything up. And there's a lot of kind of world building to introduce and characters, but equally you want like a fast-paced story that you don't get bogged down in all that kind of detail and descriptions. You know, it still has to have a good story and pace to it. So I think that balance is harder to find perhaps with the first book than with subsequent books in a series, but I will persevere. So my kind of slightly ambitious target, ideally I would like to have a first draft finished by this time next week. that's quite a tall order for me in terms of the number of words I write in a week. So I'm just going to have to see how it goes a bit and try and crack on and get as much stuff done as possible. If you've got any questions about this video or any other video on my writing process, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will answer them on next week's video or get back to you. Cheers and goodbye for now.